back to having an open garage spot. So, as usual, it's time to move on to another project. And I think I'm actually going to take a break from my cars for a little bit, move on to something that I wanted to start working on a month ago, but with the unexpected trends and engine ordeal of the silver car, got pushed back a little bit. So, it's time to move another project in here. So, here we go. Here we are. This is my 98 Polaris RMK 700 that I went through the whole chassis on last year, and last winter was just a bust, and I just stopped working on it. So it's time to finish up all the little odds and ends, the last 10% of everything. So just need to jump into this thing, kind of figure out what I have left for myself and go from there on it, but let's check it out a little bit. So I got this thing pretty well clapped. It's got all new suspension arms in the front, minus the trailing arm. I put 05 Skidoo MXZ shocks on it. The engine came in it, but it has, I'm being dumb, I can't think of what those are called, but it's a later generation engine. It's not the big block 700 that would have came in here. And yeah, I overall just kind of went over it, cleaned it all up, redid the tunnel extension. I also put a tunnel cooler off of a 03 Rev Summit. It's got a 2023 Polaris. I don't really know what model that seat came off of, but made a bracket and all that for it, so that sits on there. It's got Skidoo handlebars, and yeah, overall pretty cool sled. I gotta go through the wiring on it. It's all hacked together and spliced up through spots, and so go through everything and demolest it and just pick up where I left off last year on it and have some fun. So this whole front end, I don't really know how well I can show it, but there's plates down here that I made that hold the A-arms that are all reinforced. We've got bars here. You can kind of see they come down right here and one behind it to reinforce this part of the rear mount for the trailing arm, all to the steering support and all that. I don't really know what to consider all these pieces, but kind of hard to see everything now that it's all put together this far. But you can see the supports there and the plate where it's riveted on a little bit. But overall, hoping this thing should be a lot stiffer than my last one and not bend up as much. So this is what I will be jumping into and hopefully get this thing done here in a couple weeks. Alrighty, been tinkering here with the RMK. I haven't really been filming anything on it. Haven't found much motivation to film on it. I've just been tidying up a lot of loose ends, bouncing around all over the place on it. And it's not like I have much concept of where this build came from, so I'm just kind of getting it finished up, so I'll at least show everybody what I've done so far. So, been slowly getting everything put back in here, even though I got the oil bottle put back in here and all plumbed. I got to take it out because I've been messing around with my brake caliper setup. I put a new master and whatnot on here because the Polaris one was all seized, so that's actually off of a Skidoo that I have laying in the back. This thing is just a hodgepodge of Skidoo rev parts, so they work. I love how universal snowmobiles are. But I got coolant hoses for it. I was able to just go search around the local parts stores this morning. Luckily, I'm good friends with most of the people at the parts store, so they just let me go in back, and I was able to find this one here, which works perfect for there. I had to trim them up a little bit to make them fit perfect, but that's a minor detail. Same thing with this one. I was able to get it to come up nicely, and so those are perfect to me. Then I also got my oil lines all routed nicely here. Went a little overboard and made some zip tie spacers for them, but got those all nice and tidy, and been just kind of cleaning up loose odds and ends. Readjusted the shocks. I stiffened them up because they were very loose before. Remounted this plate here, which is an engine adjustment, and then also remade this, but I forgot to put a nut on the inside of here, and it's now captured unless I unbolt the engine and move it forward, or re-drill out these rivets. So I was kind of thinking, and now that thought comes to mind, I cannot do that because there's not enough room. I thought maybe I could put a bolt on the backside here and then just tighten it up against it once I find my tension, but there's another lip on the inside of here that would not allow me to do that, so this will probably have to get removed one more time, or like I said, unbolt the engine and slide it forward enough to unscrew this out and put a nut on it, but figure that out when I get there, or I'll just leave it and wonder why I keep losing tension on it, but minor details. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. Currently figuring out the brake lever on it right now, so I got to take those reservoirs back off so that I can bleed the brake and see if that works. I'm pretty sure this caliper is seized, but we're gonna see what we can do. I might unbolt it and look about making a custom option for it out of some more Skidoo parts, because I have a really nice Brembo caliper off of a Skidoo that I'm dumb enough to try and make a bracket for to make work on here if it has enough room, but that is something I'm only going to do if I have to, you know? Don't need to do too much custom stuff here. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. Just been tinkering. Gonna keep checking in here and there as I figure it out. So, and if I do get into any big projects, I'll definitely try and film stuff and hopefully just find some motivation to film more of this, because I do enjoy this project, but because I don't have all the background of it on YouTube, I don't really have that much motivation to show much of it. So please show me some love for this thing so that I'm motivated to film more of it. But I'm going to keep plugging away for now, and I'll make another update once I've made some good headway on it. Well, I'm over here getting out of hand as usual. I've been over here cutting up my factory brake caliper bracket for an alternative option. I think I mentioned earlier something about a Brembo caliper off of a Rev chassis that I have, and I've been notching it out for this to fit in here. We are very close. It only needs to come down about a 1/16 of an inch roughly, so I got to trim out a little bit around the sides here and for a bump right there, and then make a L bracket to come down from these ends with a piece across to bolt my caliper onto, and I think the little bugger's going to work. I got to order some brake pads. They fell apart when I took it out. There's an angle. You can see there's only half a pad on there. So got to order a set of those, but found some on eBay for 30 bucks, so I don't think that'll be too bad. This is all happening because this factory caliper is seized. It won't do absolutely anything, so yes, I could just go find another Indy caliper and probably bolt it on, but what fun is that? And that'll probably cost $30 too, but meh. I like fabricating, so I've been over here cutting this up. I think I already threw the pieces away. Yeah, so this is the main bulk that came out of there. It was sitting, let's see which way. I think it sat like that, yeah. So that came out of there like that roughly. So that's how much I've taken out of it. Which you might think is quite a bit, but it honestly hasn't been that bad. This came out really easily with a Sawzall. And then I've been working in the fine-tune edges with my death wheel very carefully, carving her out, and we're getting very close, so see what I can make out of this thing. It's pretty funny. If it breaks, who gives a shit? But I just ruined a RMK chain case, so hopefully that pisses a few people off. I've kind of already just totaled this whole chassis with cutting it out completely for the Rev tunnel cooler and whatnot, so the chassis is what it is and parts are what they are, and I'm going to sit here and fuck around and find out as much as I can because I like to build stuff. So this is right down my alley, and I'm going to keep going with it, see what I can figure out, and this is going to work. I'm pretty confident in it. So going to keep plugging away here, and I'll show you where I'm at once I get that notched out enough for it. So good stuff here. So this is what I've got for it. It's really good. I got all my trimming done I need to do on the bracket here. There's a notch. Oops. Oh, one of my pin just fell out of it. Oh well. The notch on the back side right here, I'm going to take a little bit off of that to finish off my clearance so that I don't have to grind out down into here more, because it's kind of thin on the back side, so I don't want to take any more of the structure out of there than I have to. So gonna sacrifice part of the caliper, but that is what it is. But it sits in there. Well, now I gotta get the brake pad situated. There we go. Got our pin back, so like I said, the little bugger sits in there pretty nicely. So and then I'll be able to utilize the factory hose that came off the Rev and even up to the factory brake master. So everything that's going to be meant to be with this system is going to be on the sled. So it should work. The rotor is pretty close to the same diameter. I haven't measured it, that's just an eyeball thing, but pretty close. So I'm going to order some pads for this tonight, start making a bracket for it tomorrow. Oh man, my wonderful shenanigans of escalating everything, but this is pretty cool. This is one project that I've been having a lot of fun modding, so gonna just continue it out that way. And besides, this is parts I have laying around, so it's not costing me any extra to try and make this work on here, unless, you know, I ruin this bracket, but we'll cross that road if we get there. But for now, I'm pretty confident on this working, so gonna start making a bracket tomorrow, but I'm gonna call her there for tonight, clean up some of my mess around here, and hopefully life will be better for tomorrow. Alrighty, been working on getting this Brembo caliper all mounted up. I got it all ground out enough last night, so played with a little CAD this morning. Got this piece here all fabbed up or all cut out to fit around it, and was able to then transfer that onto our piece of metal here, and we now have ourselves a nice bracket we can start with. I gotta drill a couple holes in each end of it, weld a nut on the back side of it so that we can bolt the caliper to it and move forward from there to then making brackets that then mount onto our factory bolts here. Definitely had to take out quite a bit, but for the fact that I can fit it in here, I think it's going to be pretty sweet. So fun, dumb modifications that I'm doing just because I can. I ordered some new brake pads for this last night for 30 bucks off of eBay, so I should have those, it said by Monday. See what happens. I'm more than happy to wait over the weekend to get some brake pads, but I'm already pretty confident that this guy is going to work. We got it sitting on there nice and flush. So yeah, just a matter of trimming this up how we need it now after it's in there. I might have to put a notch in here for the shaft that goes across for the drive gears, and kind of just figure out how we want to cut these ends off after we get it all mounted up to make it look better. Pretty rough cut right now. Looks pretty decent on camera, but I was definitely not doing my best work with it, just getting a rough idea of it, but I'm pretty happy with it. Sits on here good, so gonna keep trucking along, and I'll show you what I come up with next for it after I get this mounted on here. Alright, I've made a little bit more progress since yesterday on the Brembo brake install here. So bracket is all complete for this side of it. I'm gonna wait now until I get the brake pads in the mail, hopefully on Monday, to finish mocking it up. That way I can get the height proper. I have half of a brake pad that's good from that came out of this. The other pieces, the pads completely fell off the backing, so one half is left, so I don't really have a whole lot to go off of, so I'm gonna wait till I get those in. I also committed to cutting this nub off so that it gave me clearance on the front here without trimming more out of here, just because it's not thin, but I don't want to take the structure out of here just because I've already cut enough out of there. So, but this thing fits in there really good at the moment. drop her in and what am I hung up on now? There we go. But yeah, she sits in there pretty darn good. So I'll make a couple of sturdy L brackets, or a couple brackets that come off the side, and they can just bolt into the factory location, and then also just be able to be taken on and off by itself then afterwards. So that's the goal out of it. See where we end up, but so far I like how this is turning out. So I'm gonna take a break from that, and I'm gonna move to messing with this rear skid. This thing currently does absolutely nothing once it's on the ground. It's just bottomed out. So gonna see about throwing some different shocks in there. I have a couple different options. I have another 136 skid that I can steal the shocks out of, but I kind of want to leave them in it. So I'm gonna try option number 2, which is more skidoo parts. I really love how this is just turning into half a skidoo, and it's really irritating one of my good friends because he just thinks I'm going nonsense. Mainly with like the Brembo braid, he's just like, why are you doing that? It's like, because that's not cool, that is. Nobody's gonna know about those, but I think they're pretty darn close to the same length as what's in here. So, I don't know, gonna get this thing pulled up with the chain hoist and see what I can figure out with it. So, I'll check back in here in a little bit. Alrighty, well, I forgot to make some updates as I was going through the rear skid here. So, got another used rear shock in it, and also another used rear shock that I got hodgepodged in there from, you know, good old skidoo. Couldn't fit the skidoo one in the front, mainly because I noticed that this one's all bent. I took the cover off of it and realized that the top of it's all bent, so I didn't really feel like trying to hodgepodge this in there just because of that. So it's got the used one out of my extra 136 skid, so I at least can't compress it by hand, unlike that one that I can spring up and down on when I push on it on the concrete there. So gonna drop this thing back down and see how the suspension feels now that it hopefully has suspension. So heck yeah, making good progress. Time to figure out what else to move on to now. I'll figure out bounce on it on camera here, see if it does something. Yeah. I got rear suspension again. That's mint. Oh, that thing is awesome. Fuck yeah. Oh, I love it when stuff works out. Before, the skid was just bottomed right out as soon as you'd step on it. Very cool. Well, on to some bigger and better things. Not sure what else to move on to at the moment. I need to stop procrastinating and work on the wiring harness, but really, as much as I really have liked wiring, this wiring harness has just makes me not want to use it for a lot of reasons. So I'm gonna probably start going through it because I have to. That's the last big thing that's gonna keep this from running. So probably need to just start working on that. Brake pads will be in Monday. Finished mounting the calipers, so another couple days on that. No big deal. So keep trucking along, and I guess you'll see where my next update is when I make it. So see what happens.